4 years after her divorce, Ivy had been raising her son alone while pregnant. She never planned to return to her old hometown until the death of her father forced her hand. What she didn't expect was to run into the man she once loved, or to find her son befriending a billionaire tycoon and boldly deciding the man should be his new dad. What's more shocking? That tycoon has a deeper connection to her son than she ever imagined. Chapter 1: Betrayal. A sleek black car was parked by the curb, muffled voices emerging from within. "Freya, what are you trying to do? Why are you going after my dad's company? You ruined him, you bankrupted him." Ivy's voice cracked as she looked at Freya, her face twisted in anguish. Freya's lips curled into a smug smile, the kind only a victor could wear. "Oh, it's simple. Divorce Marcus Harris, and I'll let your dad off the hook." Ivy's hands trembled as she grabbed Freya's arm, her voice laced with desperation. "Anything but that. I'll do anything else you want." Freya shook Ivy's hands off like she was brushing away dirt, her tone dripping with disdain. "And what makes you think you're in a position to negotiate with me?" Without waiting for a reply, Freya turned the key in the ignition and slammed her foot on the gas. "Freya, are you insane?" Ivy screamed, lunging forward to grab the steering wheel. Freya's eyes narrowed, her gaze dark and venomous. With a sudden, calculated movement, she flung the car door open, using Ivy's outstretched arm as leverage to push her backward. Ivy froze. She didn't even realize the car was hurtling toward the guardrail until it was too late. The sound of metal crunching against metal was deafening. Pain shot through Ivy's body like a lightning strike. As her strength drained away, her eyelids grew heavy, and the world around her faded to black. When Ivy opened her eyes, the sterile white of a hospital room blurred into view. She turned her head, only to lock eyes with a pair of sharp, piercing ones staring back at her. Marcus. His jaw was tight, his whole body radiating barely contained fury. "Why did you push Freya out of the car?" His voice was calm, but his words carried the weight of an accusation. Ivy's mind reeled. "Marcus, I swear it was her." Before she could finish, Marcus cut her off coldly, his tone like ice. "I gave you a chance to explain yourself, Ivy. Then check the security cameras." Ivy yelled, her voice cracking with frustration and exhaustion. Marcus let out a harsh laugh, stepping closer and grabbing her chin with a punishing grip. "You want me to waste my time checking the cameras? Who do you think you're fooling?" Ivy slapped his hand away with what little strength she had left. "If you have something to say, Marcus, just spit it out." Her defiance only seemed to fuel his anger. His eyes burned as he leaned in, pinning her in place with his hands on either side of the bed. "Freya isn't awake yet, Ivy," he hissed. "Until she opens her eyes, you're going to stay right here and think about what you've done. And if something happens to her..." His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "I won't let you walk away unscathed." With that, Marcus stormed out, leaving Ivy staring after him, her chest heaving with suppressed tears. She squeezed her eyes shut, but a single tear slipped free, soaking into her pillow. Marcus paced outside the operating room, his fists clenched at his sides. Every tick of the clock on the wall drove his anxiety higher. Finally, the surgeon stepped out, pulling off his mask. "Who's here for Freya White?" Marcus didn't even have a chance to respond before Mrs. White rushed forward, grabbing the doctor's arm with trembling hands. "Doctor! How is my daughter?" The surgeon sighed, his voice heavy with regret. "The patient suffered severe trauma. It's unlikely she'll ever be able to have children. With intensive therapy, there's a chance she may walk again, but..." Mrs. White's knees buckled, and she collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Her grief was raw, cutting through the sterile hospital air. Marcus stood frozen, his hands curling into fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. Without thinking, he slammed his fist into the wall beside him, the sound reverberating down the empty hallway. The door to Ivy's hospital room flew open with a crash, jolting her awake. Her heart leapt into her throat as Marcus' shadow filled the doorway. In the dim light, his fury was etched into every sharp line of his face. Marcus stalked toward her, his anger palpable. He grabbed her throat with one hand, forcing her to look up at him. "Are you happy now, Ivy? Freya can't have children anymore. She might not even walk again. Is this what you wanted?" Ivy's hands flailed, clawing at his wrist as she shook her head, her voice strangled by his grip. His piercing gaze bore into her, unrelenting. The faint glow of the streetlight outside the window illuminated her pale face, her lips trembling as she tried to speak. Marcus finally released her, letting her collapse back against the bed, gasping for air. His voice was cold, devoid of any trace of the man she once knew. "Freya can't have children anymore. So you'll take her place." Ivy stared at him, her mind reeling, her lips parting in disbelief. But Marcus was already walking away, his words still hanging in the air like a death sentence. "This is the best you'll ever get from me, Ivy." With that, he disappeared into the hallway, leaving her shattered and alone. Ivy's gaze remained fixed on the door long after he was gone, her tear-filled eyes reflecting nothing but emptiness. Chapter 2, Breaking Point. The past few days had been eerily quiet. Marcus hadn't stepped foot in Ivy's hospital room since their last encounter. On the day of her discharge, Ivy packed her things in silence. Just as she was about to leave, her phone buzzed. The voice on the other end was frantic. "Ivy, your dad's had another heart attack. He needs emergency surgery, but we don't have the money to pay for it." Ivy froze mid-step. Her dad? In the hospital? The realization hit her like a freight train. Tossing aside the clothes she hadn't yet changed into, she bolted out of the hospital wearing nothing but her patient gown. Meanwhile, Marcus, fully aware that Ivy was being discharged that day, found himself outside her hospital room. Before he could open the door, a commotion down the hall caught his attention. He glanced over and saw a cluster of doctors rushing toward another room, their faces tight with urgency. He barely caught a nurse's hushed whisper. "The patient in room 1302 is having a breakdown. She's threatening to kill herself." Marcus's heart stopped. "Freya!" Without hesitation, he shoved past the medical staff and sprinted to her room. Inside, Freya stood in the center of the chaos, surrounded by nurses and doctors who were attempting to calm her. In her trembling hand was a jagged shard of broken glass, pressed dangerously close to her own neck. Her eyes darted wildly, her voice cracking with desperation. "Stay back. If anyone comes closer, I swear I'll do it." Marcus took a shaky breath and stepped forward, his voice soft and steady. "Freya, please, put the glass down. Let's talk, okay?" Freya's lips quivered as tears streamed down her face. "Talk? Marcus, look at me." Her voice broke as she gestured to herself. "What's the point of living like this? What reason do I have to stay alive?" Her laugh was bitter, hollow, as though she were mocking herself. With her eyes shut tight, she tilted her head back, the glass poised to slice into her pale, delicate neck. "Freya, stop!" Marcus's voice cracked, raw with emotion as he took a cautious step closer. "You still have me. You'll always have me." Freya froze, her breath hitching. Marcus continued to edge toward her, his tone soothing but firm. "I'm here, Freya. I'll take care of you. I promise." Tears spilled from her eyes as she shook her head, her voice barely audible. "Don't lie to me, Marcus. I know Ivy still needs you." Her words were soft, like a feather brushing against his heart, yet they cut deeper than any shard of glass ever could. Marcus's gaze didn't waver. He took another step forward, his voice low and resolute. "I'll divorce her, Freya. You have my word." Freya's grip on the shard faltered, and it slipped from her fingers, landing on the floor with a sharp, crystalline clink. Her wide, tear-filled eyes searched his face. "You mean it?" Marcus didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, pulling her into his arms and kicking the shard aside, out of reach. "Yes," he whispered, his voice steady. Ivy staggered out of the hospital, her mind racing and her heart heavy. The scorching sunlight hit her face, but it brought no warmth. Her father's doctor's words echoed in her ears. Ivy, your father's condition is critical. He needs to be transferred to a hospital abroad immediately, but... The weight of it all bore down on her like a tidal wave. Dizziness washed over her, and before she could steady herself, her knees buckled. The world tilted, and she collapsed. When Ivy awoke, her head felt heavy, her body weak. The sterile smell of another hospital room filled her nose. She blinked slowly, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. A familiar voice broke through her haze. Ivy, oh my God, you scared me to death. She turned her head to see Amber sitting by her bedside, her expression a mix of worry and relief. Amber. Ivy croaked, her throat dry and scratchy. Amber leaned closer, her voice soft but firm. You idiot. Do you even know? You're pregnant, Ivy. Pregnant? The word hit Ivy like a thunderclap. Her hand, still hooked up to and for, shot out and grabbed Amber's wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone so weak. Before Amber could say more, Ivy's phone rang, the sound sharp and grating. Amber picked it up, glanced at the screen, and sighed before answering. She put it on speaker. Marcus's voice came through, cold and detached. Ivy, I've had the divorce papers drawn up. My secretary will deliver them to you. I've also arranged for a settlement money and a house. After this, we have nothing to do with each other. Ivy's pale lips curved into a bitter smile, though it lacked any real emotion. Her voice, flat and lifeless, rasped out a single word. Fine. Amber's temper flared. She ended the call with a sharp jab of her finger, muttering angrily under her breath. That man is the absolute worst. Trash. Garbage. But Ivy remained still, her eyes distant. After a moment, she whispered hoarsely. Amber, I need some time alone. Please, just go. Amber hesitated but eventually nodded, her frustration giving way to concern. She squeezed Ivy's hand before stepping out of the room. Once alone, Ivy stared blankly at the ceiling, tears pooling in her eyes. After a while, she got up, opened the door, and called softly to Amber. Amber, don't tell anyone about the pregnancy. Not a soul. Amber's brows furrowed, but she saw the determination in Ivy's gaze. She nodded solemnly. I won't say a word. A few days later, Ivy disappeared from the city, taking her ailing father with her. No one knew where she had gone. Chapter 3, Return. 4 years later, at the arrivals gate of an airport. Mommy, where's Auntie? A soft, sweet voice piped up. The woman crouched down, brushing her fingers over the chubby cheeks of the little boy beside her. Noah, Auntie is busy at work, so she couldn't come pick us up. Who said that? A voice interrupted them, and a woman in business attire appeared, clearly sneaking out of her office. Without hesitation, she scooped Noah into her arms and began smothering his face with kisses. Amber, it's been 4 years, and you're still such a flirt. Ivy teased, shaking her head. Amber pouted, letting out a dramatic huff. I'm not flirting, thank you very much. Glancing at her watch, she suddenly panicked and started ushering them along. Shoot, I don't have much time. Let's go! Ivy sighed, watching Amber rush off with Noah in her arms, the little boy giggling uncontrollably. With a small shake of her head, she followed them, pulling her suitcase behind her. On the ride into the city, Ivy stared out the window, lost in thought. Returning to this place, this city she had once sworn to leave behind, brought back a flood of memories she thought she had buried for good. Mommy, are you okay? Noah's small voice broke through her haze. Ivy blinked and rubbed her temples, forcing a smile as she looked at him. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little tired. Amber glanced at her from the driver's seat and let out a heavy sigh. Listen, Ivy, you're back now. Whatever happened in the past, you've got to let it go. It's time to start fresh. Ivy nodded, though her heart felt far from convinced. After a while, Amber parked the car. Noah had fallen asleep in the back seat, his tiny chest rising and falling rhythmically. The two women quietly carried the luggage out of the trunk and headed inside. The elevator dinged open and Amber pulled out a key. "Ivy, you can stay here for now. I'll come by often to check on you guys." Amber unlocked the door and stepped aside, whispering, "I've got to run work emergency. Make yourself at home." Ivy smiled softly as Amber darted out. "Thanks, Amber. For everything." Amber waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, come on. What are friends for?" She leaned down to kiss Noah's forehead before hurrying off. Ivy gently laid Noah on the bed, tucking him in with a blanket before sitting down herself. Just as she took out her phone, a message from Amber popped up. "Tomorrow at a.m., come to my office for the design director interview." The next morning. "Noah, be a good boy and stay home. Mommy has to go out for a little while," Ivy said, running her fingers through Noah's soft hair. Noah pouted and tugged on her hand. "Mommy, I want to go with you." He clung to her, rocking her arm back and forth. Ivy hesitated for a moment but remained firm. "No, sweetheart. Mommy is going to a job interview. I can't bring little kids with me." Hearing this, Noah plopped down on the floor, his bottom sticking out as he whined. Tears welled up in his big, round eyes, spilling over like little waterfalls. Ivy's heart ached as she watched him cry. Finally, she gave in with a sigh. Okay. You can come. Just stop crying, all right?" Noah sniffled and immediately brightened. "Mommy, I'll be good, I promise." He crawled up onto her shoulder, grinning triumphantly. At Harris Group, Ivy held Noah's hand as they approached the building, but a security guard stepped in to block them. "Sorry, ma'am. Children aren't allowed inside the building." "Excuse me, sir," Ivy said politely. "I'm here for an interview." The guard folded his arms, his tone unfriendly. "Doesn't matter. Interviews don't allow kids either." Before Ivy could respond, Noah stepped forward, his innocent face lighting up as he looked at the guard. "Mister, Noah won't go inside. I'll wait right here," he said sweetly, his big eyes blinking up at the man. The guard froze, stunned by the child's adorableness. Squatting down, he patted Noah's head and smiled. "Your name is Noah?" Noah nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, sir. You're so handsome. Can you play with Noah while Mommy goes for her interview?" he asked, his voice sugary and innocent. Ivy turned her head to the side, trying to hide her smirk. Her son really did have a way of charming everyone no matter their gender. Noah tugged on Ivy's skirt. "Mommy, Noah will wait right here. I'll be super good, I promise." Relieved, Ivy nodded. She glanced back once to see Noah happily chatting with the guard before heading inside. Not long after, a sleek Maybach pulled up in front of the company building. A sharply dressed man stepped out of the driver's side, hurrying to the passenger door. With practiced precision, he opened it, revealing another man seated inside. The man who emerged from the car exuded an air of authority. His face was cold, his sharp features set in a permanent scowl. Without sparing a glance at anyone around him, he strode purposefully toward the building's entrance. Chapter 4: The Stranger. Noah's little legs darted forward as he giggled uncontrollably, making a break for the exit. His excitement blinded him to the tall man stepping into the building, and before he knew it, he collided head-on with the stranger. The impact knocked Noah to the ground. Undeterred, he hopped back to his feet, brushed himself off, and pointed an accusing finger at the man. "Hey! You should apologize." Marcus froze for a moment, surprised. The boy's tone so bold, so commanding reminded him of someone he hadn't seen in years. The security guard rushed over, his face pale with panic. He pulled Noah to his side and stammered nervously. "Victor, sir, I'm so sorry. This isn't my child. I was just watching him for someone else." The man beside Marcus, one of his assistants, frowned and spoke up sharply. A kid? At the office? During work hours? What kind of circus are you running here? The guard broke into a cold sweat, trying desperately to explain. Sir, I swear, it's not my kid. I was just doing a favor. Before he could finish, Noah wriggled free of the guard's grip, puffed up his chest, and stood his ground. If you've got a problem, take it up with me. I'm the one who bumped into him, not him. Marcus raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the boy's audacity. A faint smirk tugged at the corners of his lips. What's your name, kid? Noah Harris. The boy replied proudly, his voice full of confidence. Marcus's smirk deepened. Harris, huh? My name is Marcus Harris. Noah tilted his head, then grabbed Marcus's hand and tugged at his fingers, his eyes wide with mischief. Hey, since we've got the same last name, you should take me to play. My mom's still inside doing her interview. The assistant beside Marcus cleared his throat, glancing at his watch. Sir, you have a board meeting in 10 minutes. Push it. Marcus said, cutting him off. He crouched down to Noah's level, took the boy's small, chubby hand in his own, and stood up. All right, kid. Let's go play. With Noah's tiny hand in his, Marcus felt an unexpected warmth stir in him. For a fleeting moment, he entertained the ridiculous thought of keeping this charming little boy for himself. Inside the company, Ivy had just finished her interview. But when she stepped outside, Noah was nowhere to be seen. Her heart dropped as panic set in. She ran toward the security desk, her voice trembling. Where's my son? Where's Noah? The security guard had only just returned. Seeing Ivy's pale face, he quickly pointed toward the park across the street. Don't worry. He's with Mr. Harris. They're just playing over there. Go straight and turn right, you'll find them. Ivy didn't wait for more details. She followed the directions, her heart pounding with every step. Noah! Noah! She called out, her voice frantic as she searched the park. Hearing her voice, Noah dropped the toy he was playing with and ran toward her. Mommy! I'm here! He shouted, waving his little hands. Ivy spotted him and sprinted forward, scooping him into her arms and holding him tightly. Tears burned in her eyes as relief washed over her. Noah, you scared Mommy so much. She choked out, her voice breaking with emotion. Noah, sensing her distress, gently wiped her tears with his tiny hands. Don't cry, Mommy. I didn't go far. And guess what? I made a new friend. He turned and ran back toward Marcus, wrapping his small arms around the man's leg. Ivy stood up, ready to thank whoever had looked after her son, but the words died in her throat when she saw Marcus's face. Her body went rigid, her smile fading into shock. Marcus, oblivious to her reaction, ruffled Noah's hair with a small smile. Sorry for taking him without permission, he said casually. Ivy took a step forward, yanking Noah behind her protectively. Her voice was cold and firm. You should apologize. And stay away from my son. Without waiting for a response, she grabbed Noah's hand and turned to leave. Marcus watched her retreating figure, confused by her hostility. What's with her attitude? He wondered. But something about her, the way she moved, the curve of her shoulders, the defiance in her voice stirred a deep sense of familiarity. That back. It couldn't be. Could it? It had been for years. 4 endless years of burying himself in work during the day and drowning in alcohol at night, all to keep himself from thinking about her. No matter how hard Freya had tried to pull him closer, he couldn't. Every time he touched her, Ivy's face haunted his mind. Meanwhile, Noah struggled to keep up with Ivy's brisk pace. His small legs were no match for her hurried steps, and he tugged at her hand, his voice soft but pleading. Mommy, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Please don't be mad at me, okay? Ivy stopped in her tracks, her chest tightening with guilt. She turned around, her eyes red-rimmed, and knelt down to hug him. "No, sweetheart. Mommy shouldn't have yelled at you. Did I scare you?" Noah grinned, showing off his tiny teeth. "No way, Mommy. I'm a big boy. I'm tough." Ivy managed a small laugh, stroking his hair gently. "I'm sorry, Noah. Mommy won't yell at you again, okay?" "Okay," Noah said cheerfully, his earlier tears forgotten. Ivy held him close, her heart heavy with guilt and love. Chapter 5, She's Ivy. Marcus stormed back into his office, his face dark with irritation. His assistant, Victor, followed closely behind, a folder in hand. "Sir, here's the file on the interview candidates." Without even glancing at it, Marcus tossed the folder onto his desk and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window. His voice was cold and commanding. "Look into Noah Harris's mother. I want everything you can find." "Yes, sir." Victor nodded and left the office. Marcus's sharp eyes narrowed as he stared out at the city skyline. The woman's face from earlier kept flashing in his mind, refusing to leave him in peace. "Ivy, where are you?" He sank into his chair, aimlessly flipping through the resumes from the interviews. His expression remained indifferent until his eyes landed on something that made his breath hitch. Ivy. The name hit him like a bolt of lightning. Could it be her? Was this Ivy the same Ivy? He quickly turned to the photograph attached to the resume. His eyes locked onto the picture, and his mind raced. It was her. He recognized her face immediately. It was the woman he just saw earlier. But as he scanned the rest of the information on her resume, he realized something didn't add up. The details didn't match what he knew about her. Marcus grabbed his phone and dialed Victor. "There was a woman named Ivy who came for an interview today. Look into her background immediately." The following morning, Ivy's phone rang. "Good morning, Ivy." The voice on the other end said warmly. "Congratulations, you've been hired by Harris Group. Would you be able to come in the day after tomorrow to complete the onboarding process?" For a moment, Ivy was stunned. It took her a few seconds to gather her thoughts before she finally responded. "Yes, absolutely. I'll be there on time." Hanging up, she stared at her phone screen, letting out a long sigh of relief. The Harris Group, one of the most prestigious companies in the country, offered her a position. The salary alone was more than enough to provide a comfortable life for her and Noah. She sat Noah down later that afternoon to let him know she'd start work soon. Why isn't Noah going to kindergarten? You might ask. Well, Noah's IQ was off the charts. He found kindergarten boring and full of babies, as he called them. But because of his age, he wasn't eligible to enroll in elementary school yet. For now, he stayed at home, happily keeping himself entertained. 2 days later, Ivy arrived at Harris Group's headquarters. "Hello, I'm here to complete my onboarding," she said, knocking on the door of the HR office. The HR manager looked up, smiled, and stood to greet her. "Miss Ivy, welcome. Please, have a seat." Ivy nodded politely and sat down. Just then, a young woman in uniform entered the office. "Manager, everything is prepared," the woman said. "Good, please show Miss Ivy to her office," the manager replied. Ivy stood and gave a small bow. "Thank you." Once Ivy left the room, the HR manager picked up the phone and made a call. "Mr. Harris, everything has been arranged as per your instructions. Miss Ivy, this is your office. If you need anything, just let me know," the young assistant said cheerfully. "Thank you. By the way, what should I call you?" Ivy asked. "Just call me Lorelai," the assistant replied with a smile. "All right. Thank you. You can go now." After Lucy left, Ivy took a moment to look around her new office. The decor felt oddly personal, as if it had been tailored to her tastes. Her attention was drawn to a bookshelf in the corner. Nestled among the books was a familiar set of novels, The Light Chronicles, her all-time favorite series. She couldn't resist picking one up and flipping through its pages. Engrossed in the book, she didn't notice when someone entered her office. Marcus moved silently, leaning back on the sofa as he watched her. His arms crossed, his eyes lingered on her profile, studying every detail of her face. Ivy shifted on her feet, growing tired of standing. She turned to sit down, but the moment she saw him, the book slipped from her hands and hit the floor with a loud thud. Her expression turned cold. "Get out." Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, his deep eyes glinted with something unreadable. He stood up, taking slow steps toward her. He stopped just a few feet away from her and tilted his head, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "Get out?" he echoed, his voice dripping with amusement. Ivy took a step back, trying to maintain her composure. "This is my office. You don't have the right to be here. Leave. Now." Marcus's gaze bore into her, his tone turning icy. "Ivy." Her heart skipped a beat. Did he recognize her? No, that couldn't be possible. She had falsified her information when applying for the position, and her appearance had changed significantly over the years. There was no way he could connect her to the woman she once was. Straightening her back, she forced herself to meet his gaze. "Who are you, and how do you know my name?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. Marcus's jaw tightened, and his Adam's apple bobbed slightly as he swallowed. His hesitation lasted only a moment before he leaned forward and, without warning, pressed his lips against hers. Chapter 6, Introductions. Ivy's eyes widened as Marcus's face loomed closer, his distinct scent overwhelming her senses. For a brief moment, her mind blanked until she realized what was happening. Without hesitation, she raised her knee and aimed directly at his groin, following up with a sharp slap across his face. Marcus froze, his expression darkening as a dangerous glint flickered in his eyes. Ivy was just as stunned by her reaction. "Oh my God, what did I just do?" It took her several seconds to process her actions. "That man I just kicked. That's Marcus, the CEO of Harris Group." Panic set in, and she bolted toward the couch, grabbing her bag before making a mad dash for the door. She heard footsteps behind her and stopped in her tracks, turning slowly to face him. Pressing her back against the door, she glared at him. "What do you want exactly?" Marcus's cold, piercing eyes bored into her, his smirk icy and calculated. "What do I want?" he echoed, taking a step closer. "I think you already know the answer to that. Are you insane? I don't even know you." Ivy snapped, clutching her bag tightly, her voice steady despite the storm of fear brewing inside her. Marcus closed the distance between them with long strides and grabbed her chin, tilting her face toward him. His voice was low and deliberate. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Marcus Harris, CEO of Harris Group," he said, his tone laced with a hint of provocation. Ivy narrowed her eyes, unimpressed. She let out a sarcastic laugh. "Oh, good for you." Marcus paused, stunned by her indifference. Her dismissive tone felt so foreign, so unlike the Ivy he remembered. Was she really not the same person? No. The evidence was undeniable, she was Ivy. Meanwhile, Amber was sneaking through the office halls, her curiosity getting the better of her. She had come to warn Ivy about one crucial piece of information: the CEO of Harris Group was Marcus. But just as she reached Ivy's door, she froze at the sight in front of her. What the hell? Is Marcus kissing Ivy? Amber blinked in disbelief. That psycho! Doesn't he already have a fiancé? Snapping out of her shock, she rushed forward and tried to open the door, but it was locked. Frustrated, she pounded on the door with her fists, shouting, "Marcus, you creep! Let Ivy go!" Lorelai, who had just returned from the restroom, saw Amber causing a scene and hurried over. "Stop banging on the door. They can't hear you from inside." Amber turned to Lorelai, her face full of frustration. Why the hell is that maniac still here? Wasn't he supposed to leave Harris Group ages ago? Lowering her voice, Lorelai glanced toward the office and whispered. Apparently, he reviewed the company's finances for the past 2 years and decided to relocate the headquarters here. Amber brow furrowed. This was bad, really bad. She pulled out her phone and dialed Ivy's number. The ringing phone shattered the tense silence in the office. Ivy glanced at the screen and, seeing Amber's name, answered the call with a small smile. Before she could say a word, Amber's apologetic voice spilled out. Ivy, I'm so sorry. I'm right outside. I'm fine. Ivy interrupted, her tone calm but firm. Don't worry about me. She ended the call before Amber could respond. Turning her icy gaze back to Marcus, she spoke with deliberate clarity. Mr. Blackwell, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to leave. I'm resigning. Effective immediately. Marcus stiffened at her words, a flicker of unease crossing his otherwise stoic face. But his expression quickly hardened. You can go home, he said, his voice low and commanding. But you're not quitting. Before she could argue, he added with a sharp edge. And don't even think about skipping work tomorrow. If you're not here, I'll dock your pay for absenteeism. With that, he walked out of the office, leaving Ivy seething in silence. The moment Marcus was gone, Amber burst into the office and rushed to Ivy's side. Ivy, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he'd be here. Ivy looped her arm through Amber, a faint smile on her face as if nothing had happened. It's fine? Sooner or later, I would have had to deal with this. Anyway, I'm going home. Noah's waiting for me. Chapter 7. Marcus? Ivy walked aimlessly along the sidewalk after leaving the office, her mind swirling with thoughts she didn't want to confront. 4 years. It had been 4 long years since she left, and the first person she ran into upon her return was the one she least wanted to see. After their divorce, Marcus had quickly announced his engagement to Freya. Meanwhile, Ivy had been alone, pregnant, and caring for her father. Despite her best efforts, her father passed away, leaving her to navigate a foreign city with no one to lean on but herself. But as she thought about going home to Noah, the storm in her heart began to clear. A smile crept onto her face. When she finally opened the door, she called out cheerfully. Noah, Mommy's home. Changing her shoes at the entrance, she noticed something strange. Noah hadn't come running to greet her like he always did. Confused, she walked further into the apartment. The living room was empty. So was the bedroom. Panic set in. Her heart began pounding as she rushed outside, her feet barely touching the stairs as she raced down. At the foot of the building, she spotted Noah struggling to pull a shopping cart along the sidewalk. Noah! She called, her voice shaky with relief. Noah turned around, his little face lighting up with pride. Mommy, look! I bought groceries all by myself. Ivy's heart ached as she ran to him. She knelt down and hugged him tightly, her voice soft and full of gratitude. You're amazing, Noah. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. But you scared Mommy so much. Noah wrapped his tiny arms around her neck, patting her shoulder reassuringly. Mommy, don't worry. Nothing will ever happen to me. Remember? I told you, when I grow up, I'm going to protect you. Tears pricked Ivy's eyes as she smiled. You're my good boy. Since you bought groceries, Mommy will make you something delicious tonight. She picked him up, holding him close, and pulled the cart behind her as they headed back inside. From across the street, Marcus sat in his car, watching the scene unfold. A small smile tugged at the corners of his lips as he observed Noah's determined little face. He had made a secret deal with Noah. They would go out and play together from time to time, but Ivy couldn't know about it. Thinking about Noah's grown-up attitude, Marcus felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. For a moment, his usual cold demeanor softened, though he didn't even realize it himself. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a maid stood respectfully beside a wheelchair. Miss White, Mr. Harris went to the Harris Group headquarters earlier, she said. Freya, flipping through a glossy magazine, didn't bother looking up. Did you find out why he went? They said he's planning to relocate the company's headquarters there. Freya let out a cold laugh, her voice dripping with disdain. An excuse. Her sharp gaze darkened, full of calculation and malice. 4 years ago, she had forced Marcus to divorce Ivy. She thought that once Ivy was gone, Marcus would finally belong to her. But even after all this time, he remained distant, uninterested. Despite her subtle and not so subtle hints about marriage, he always ignored her. Freya's fingers clenched the armrest of her wheelchair. Marcus still hasn't let go of her. A flicker of hatred crossed her face. The next morning, Freya arrived unannounced at the Harris Group headquarters. Marcus, seated behind his desk, looked up briefly. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his tone indifferent. Freya's smile faltered, but she kept her voice light. "I heard you're planning to make Harris Group the new headquarters?" "Yeah." His answer was curt, as if he had no interest in explaining further. Freya's brows furrowed. Before she could say more, Marcus looked up, his expression serious. "Freya," he began solemnly, "I need to tell you something. I've decided to call off our engagement." Freya froze, her mind blank. It took her several seconds to process his words. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Why?" Marcus sighed, his gaze steady but tinged with guilt. "I've realized I never truly understood my feelings for you. I'm sorry." He glanced down at her legs, his expression softening. "I'll make sure you continue to receive the best treatment available. Until you can walk again, I'll take care of you." His sincerity only made Freya's heartbreak worse. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she choked out. "You promised me. You said you'd marry me. Why are you doing this to me now?" Her hands trembled as she reached out to grab his sleeve, her face streaked with tears. "It's because of her, isn't it? You'll never let her go." Pulling her hands away, Freya suddenly pounded her fists against her legs, her voice laced with self-loathing. "I knew it. Who would want someone like me? I'm useless." Marcus quickly grabbed her wrists, stopping her before she could hurt herself further. "Freya, stop. Don't do this to yourself. I'm not abandoning you." His voice softened as he pulled her into a hug, trying to calm her down. Freya's tears soaked into his shirt, but behind her sobs, a calculating gleam flickered in her eyes. Guilt. It was the one thing that always worked on Marcus. She had used his guilt to keep him close for the past 4 years, and she wasn't about to stop now. Chapter 8, Promises. Freya slapped her legs angrily, tears streaming down her face as she sobbed. "If even you don't want me, then what's the point of me being alive?" Just then, Ivy entered with some files and accidentally walked in on the scene. Her steps faltered, and a flicker of sadness crossed her eyes. The sight of Marcus holding Freya in his arms felt like a stab to the chest, a pain she hadn't prepared for. She didn't realize she had been standing frozen at the door until Victor's voice broke the silence. "Miss Ivy, why are you standing out here?" His words startled all 3 of them. Marcus immediately released Freya from his arms, as if caught doing something he wasn't supposed to. Straightening his posture, he adjusted his suit and glanced at Ivy with a neutral expression. "Do you need something?" Ivy quickly composed herself, forcing a polite smile. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Harris. I came to drop off the design drafts." She stepped forward, placed the files neatly on his desk, and maintained her professional demeanor. "The documents are delivered. If there's nothing else, I'll get back to work now." Without waiting for a reply, she turned on her heels and left, quickening her pace as she walked out of the office. Victor followed behind her, closing the door softly. Freya's gaze lingered on Ivy's retreating figure. "Who is she?" she asked, her voice tinged with suspicion. Marcus ignored the question entirely, picking up the files. I have work to do. I'll have someone take you home. Marcus, please, can we not call off the wedding? Freya clutched the arms of her wheelchair tightly, her voice trembling with desperation. Marcus didn't respond, his eyes fixed on the files in front of him. Sensing his silence, Freya's tone became sharper, her words cutting through the air. Marcus, are you still thinking about Ivy? Is that it? Her voice cracked as she continued, tears streaming down her face. You promised to take care of me forever. You swore you'd marry me. Marcus's jaw tightened, his expression unreadable. How could he forget? But somewhere along the way, the hatred he once felt for Ivy had faded, disappearing without a trace. Freya noticed the hesitation in his eyes and pressed further, unwilling to let go. Marcus, were all the times you said you loved me just lies? Marcus didn't answer immediately. He wasn't sure of his own feelings. But one thing he did know for certain, whatever he felt for Freya, it wasn't love. The truth had become painfully clear after Ivy disappeared from his life. He had been consumed by an almost obsessive need to find her. He searched everywhere, only to discover that she had sold the house he had given her. The ache he felt then was a sharp reminder he had loved Ivy all along. He just hadn't realized it. The ringing of his phone pulled him out of his thoughts. Glancing at the caller ID, his tense expression softened, replaced by a rare gentleness. Noah, what's up? Marcus's voice carried an unusual warmth. Marcus, I'm so bored. Noah whined on the other end. Can you come take me out to play? Marcus glanced at Freya from the corner of his eye before answering quickly. Of course. Wait for me at home. I'll be there soon. Freya's suspicion deepened. Who's Noah? Is it because of her? Marcus said nothing. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair and with a calm but firm tone, said, Let's not talk about the wedding right now. Without giving her a chance to respond, he walked toward the private elevator, leaving Freya behind. As the doors closed, Freya's expression darkened. Her hands curled into fists, her nails digging into her palms. She wasn't going to let this go. Noah lay sprawled across the couch, staring at the ceiling, his little legs kicking in boredom. When the doorbell rang, he sprang up, sliding off the couch and running to answer it. The moment he saw Marcus standing outside, his face lit up with excitement. Throwing the door open, Noah launched himself into Marcus's arms before the man could react. Marcus caught him mid-air with ease, but he frowned slightly, putting on a stern expression. Noah, don't do that again. It's dangerous. If you got hurt, your mom would kill me. Noah tilted his head, giving Marcus a side eye. Do I look like the kind of person who tattles? Marcus couldn't help but laugh. Ruffling Noah's hair, he said. Fine. I'll trust you. As he held Noah, a thought crept into Marcus's mind, a thought he'd been trying to push away. He wished Noah were his son. But every time the idea surfaced, he forced himself to dismiss it. He and Ivy had always been careful back then. There was no way. Except for that one night. That one time he'd been drunk, and they both forgot to take precautions. Marcus shook the thought away and focused on Noah, who was looking at him expectantly. So, Marcus said with a smile. Where do you want to go today? Noah's face lit up. The amusement park. Marcus chuckled. The amusement park it is. Chapter 9, Be My Dad. When Ivy returned home, she found Noah missing. She assumed he had gone out to buy groceries or play. Then her phone rang. She answered it immediately. Ivy, it's Marcus. Noah. The mention of Noah's name made Ivy tense up. She gripped the phone tightly, her voice sharp. Marcus, where did you take Noah? Ivy, Noah is at the hospital. You should come quickly. Marcus said calmly, though he was slightly taken aback. Marcus stood at the hospital entrance, gazing at the stars in the night sky, lost in thought. Ivy rushed over, stopping in front of Marcus. What happened to Noah? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Marcus's eyes locked onto Ivy's. Nothing serious. He didn't eat lunch and fainted from low blood sugar. But I want to ask. Ivy interrupted him. If there's nothing else, I need to see my son. Is Noah my child? Marcus asked softly. Ivy froze, quickly shaking her head. No, he's not. Marcus grabbed Ivy's wrist, his eyes narrowing with a hint of suspicion. When they tested his blood, the doctor said Noah's blood type is AB negative. Ivy was momentarily stunned but quickly regained her composure. Mr. Harris, just because there are few people with that blood type doesn't mean every child with it is yours. She pulled her wrist free and walked towards the hospital. You don't have to admit it. The hospital has the DNA results. Marcus said. Ivy stopped in her tracks, then turned and said fiercely. Marcus, whether he is or isn't, I raised Noah alone. He has nothing to do with you. With that, she walked into the hospital without looking back. Marcus stood there stunned, unable to move. Ivy entered the hospital room, looking at Noah lying on the bed. She gently stroked his face. Her brow furrowed with worry, she whispered. Noah, please be okay. Mommy only has you. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the hospital room with breakfast, quietly opening the door but still waking Ivy. Ivy looked up, seeing Marcus's haggard face. She asked coldly, What are you doing here? I brought breakfast. Noah is fine, but you need to take care of yourself too. He said, placing the food on the bedside table. Mommy. Noah called weakly. Ivy's cold demeanor instantly softened. Noah, how are you feeling? Does anything hurt? Mommy, I'm thirsty. Ivy got up to get water, but Marcus was quicker, handing her a glass. Noah is just a child. You don't need to take your anger at me out on him. Ivy silently took the water and gave it to Noah. Noah drank obediently, glancing at Ivy to see if she was still angry. Ivy picked up an apple and started peeling it without saying a word. Noah looked at Marcus and said weakly, Mommy, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have skipped lunch. Then I wouldn't be in the hospital. Ivy was startled by his words, and in her distraction, the knife slipped, cutting her thumb. Marcus reacted first, grabbing her hand and putting her finger in his mouth to stop the bleeding. Ivy stared at him, feeling a strange emotion. Noah watched Marcus's actions and said softly, I wish Marcus was my dad. Neither Ivy nor Marcus noticed the turmoil Noah's words caused in each other's hearts. Ivy pulled her hand away, her tone cold. Mr. Harris, you can leave now. Noah pouted, pleading. Mommy, don't make Marcus leave. I still want to play with him. Ivy turned to Noah, her brow furrowed. Do you want him or me? Noah's round eyes darted back and forth. Do I have to choose? Yes. Then I choose Marcus. Chapter 10, The Truth. Hearing this, Ivy's expression changed, clearly hurt. One more chance. Him or me? Ivy asked, unwilling to give up. Marcus. Ivy looked like she had lost her soul. She moved away from the chair, her steps heavy. Noah looked at Marcus and pointed to the door. Marcus understood and left, closing the door behind him. Noah tentatively asked, Is Marcus my dad? Ivy's face changed, her emotions intense as she denied it. He's not. Noah sat cross-legged, looking like a little adult. Mommy, I can tell there's something different between you two. Besides, Marcus is nice, but I'll respect your decision about him being my dad. Every word spoken in the room reached Marcus's ears. A smile tugged at his lips. His phone vibrated in his pocket. He quietly stepped away, answering the call with a frown. Mr. Harris, Miss White is bleeding heavily. She wants to see you. Marcus glanced at the hospital room, speaking softly. I understand. He hung up and called into the room. I have to go. I'll come back later. Ivy, still tearful, watched Marcus leave, feeling a pang of loneliness. When Marcus arrived at the Freya residence, everyone was in a panic. Marcus quickly ran upstairs, pushing open the door to see Freya, pale and hooked up to an oxygen tank. His hand trembled slightly. He hadn't expected canceling the wedding to lead to this. Freya's parents rushed in, her mother collapsing beside the bed, crying. She was fine. What happened? Her father asked, heartbroken. A maid glanced at Marcus and said, some media outlet reported false news. Miss White saw it and couldn't take it. What news? Her father demanded. They said Mr. Harris spent the night with a woman and her child, claiming the child is his. Outrageous. Which newspaper? Her father fumed. Marcus sighed deeply, feeling guilty. I'm sorry, sir. I'll take responsibility. When Freya wakes up, I'll propose to her. At that moment, Freya opened her eyes. Turning her head weakly, she said, Marcus, leave. I don't want to see you. Freya. Marcus said helplessly. When you're better, I'll marry you. Hearing this, a look of triumph flashed in Freya's eyes. After settling things with the Freya family, Marcus returned to his office. He asked his secretary for the DNA report. Before marrying Freya, he needed to know if Noah was his son. Reading the results, he was stunned, recalling his interactions with Noah. A warm smile spread across his face. His phone rang again. He answered it, his voice softening. Noah! Noah pouted, complaining. Marcus, why did you take so long to answer? Too much work. I answered as soon as I could. Marcus said gently. Noah huffed. Marcus, are you okay? I'm fine. I'll be busy for a while. Stay home and don't run off. Marcus said, his voice trembling slightly. He couldn't take care of Ivy anymore. He owed Freya too much and had to repay her. Okay? Why are you so naggy today? Noah grumbled, then whispered. Remember to visit me. Mommy's back. Noah hung up and deleted the call record, pretending to play on his phone. Chapter 11, Legs Healed. The next morning, Ivy ran into Freya as she left her apartment. Freya wasn't in a wheelchair today. She walked elegantly in high heels, stopping in front of Ivy. Ivy, I didn't expect you to come back with a bastard child after 4 years. Freya said disdainfully. Miss White, I don't understand what you're saying. You think changing your face and resume can fool me? Freya's tone was harsh. Do you remember Marcus saying if I wanted a child, I'd ask you to be a surrogate? Freya laughed. Ivy looked up, meeting Freya's venomous gaze with a mocking smile. Miss White, the last time I saw you, you were in a wheelchair. Now you're walking in high heels. Freya's face changed. She had been so focused on provoking Ivy that she forgot she shouldn't be out like this. I have good news for you, Freya said, as if showing off. Marcus and I are getting married on December 25th. I'll send you an invitation. Freya turned and left with a victorious smile. Ivy stood there stunned, her lips losing color. Just then, her phone rang. She answered it, hearing a frantic voice. Miss Ivy, there's a claim that our latest design is plagiarized. Ivy snapped out of it, panicking. I'll be right there. When she arrived at the company, reporters swarmed her, shoving microphones in her face. Are you the design director of Marcus Enterprises? What's your response to the plagiarism allegations? Security quickly intervened, escorting Ivy inside. What's going on? Ivy asked Amber. We're not sure. Early this morning, someone anonymously reported that your design was plagiarized. Impossible. You all saw me draw it. I know, but the media doesn't believe us. They're camped outside. Before Amber could finish, a cold voice interrupted. Ivy, come here. Ivy turned to see Marcus in a suit. She immediately explained. I didn't plagiarize. Marcus, hands in his pockets, stared at her. Come here. Ivy lowered her head and followed him to his office. Marcus got straight to the point. How do you plan to resolve this? His eyes bore into her. Ivy thought for a moment. Who do they claim I plagiarized? Zoe. Ivy laughed bitterly. Plagiarize herself. Arrange a press conference. If they say I plagiarized Zoe, let her confront me. Ivy said confidently. With that, she left. Marcus watched her walk away, feeling a strange emotion. A week later, the press conference was held. The night before, Ivy made a call from her balcony. Is everything ready? A fluent voice replied. Of course. The person on the other end, looking at the information, asked. I found out the mastermind behind this is Freya. Ivy seemed unsurprised, laughing coldly. Let's see if she dares show up tomorrow. And the evidence of the Freya family's money laundering over the past 4 years? No. Ivy disagreed. I want her to fall from the peak of her happiness. You're scary. The video of your conversation with her is ready. I'll give it to you tomorrow. The voice laughed. You're the best. Take a vacation after this. Ivy said, hanging up and leaving the balcony in high spirits. Chapter 12, The Fox and the Tiger. The next morning, everyone was ready backstage and the front was packed with reporters. In a black luxury car, Freya had dressed up meticulously for the day. She planned to ruin Ivy's reputation. She had found out that Zoe was seeking inspiration and wouldn't appear. Freya would claim to know Zoe and have seen the original design, solidifying Ivy's guilt. Excited by the thought, Freya couldn't wait to drive Ivy out of Marcus's life. In the hall, Marcus took the stage first, commanding the room. The doors suddenly opened, and Ivy, dressed in a flowing gown, walked in. The reporters snapped photos furiously as Ivy gracefully approached the podium, signaling for silence. Hello, I'm Ivy, the design director of Marcus Enterprises. I'm sorry to trouble you all, but I want to clear my name. I know this isn't enough to prove I didn't plagiarize Zoe's work. But why would Zoe, who is always low-key, suddenly speak out? A reporter scoffed. Zoe is known for her eccentricity. What's so strange about this? Am I eccentric? Ivy clenched her purse, smiling but with a hint of coldness in her eyes. So, do you think Zoe will show up? Ivy asked, her smile innocent, but the situation unfolding as she had planned. She won't come, but she might send someone. The planted reporter hinted. Ivy crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow. Oh, do you know something? All eyes turned to the reporter who stammered. I'm not sure. Ivy nodded. Since Zoe isn't here, let's begin. As she spoke, the doors opened again. Ivy, starting without everyone present. Freya, in a wheelchair, said arrogantly. Freya, why are you here? Marcus asked, surprised and stern. Freya ignored him, smiling at the crowd. I had the privilege of seeing Zoe's original design. The doors opened once more, and a foreigner entered. An eagle-eyed reporter shouted. Tony! Zoe's agent. Cameras flashed wildly. Tony didn't seem interested in exposing Freya, sitting beside her with an unapproachable aura. Everyone took their places, and Ivy asked. Miss White, you claim to have seen Zoe's original design. Why wasn't it officially released? Freya smiled smugly. Just because it wasn't released doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Zoe showed me the original. Ivy maintained her smile, but her eyes were icy. She walked over to Tony, patting his shoulder under everyone's gaze. Tony glanced at Ivy, then stepped to the microphone. Zoe is here," Tony said, scanning the room. He placed his hands on Ivy's shoulders, smiling mysteriously. "Ivy is Zoe." Everyone gasped, staring at Ivy in disbelief. "She is, Zoe." Chapter 13, Revenge. The situation flipped instantly. Moments ago, everyone doubted Ivy. Now, they turned their suspicious eyes on Freya. A reporter asked Ivy, "Miss Ivy, is what Miss White said true?" Ivy turned, raising an eyebrow, enjoying Freya's discomfort. She rested her hand on her forehead. "Miss White, have we met? I don't recall showing you my original work." Freya was speechless, stammering, Marcus looked at Freya in the wheelchair, frowning. "Freya, do you know what you're doing?" Freya's smile was bitter, her voice filled with jealousy. "You're going to marry me. Why are you protecting her?" Marcus's eyes were cold and distant. Freya suddenly played the victim. "Remember my car accident 4 years ago? It was because of her that I'm like this." Ivy clenched her fists, forcing herself to stay calm. Marcus pulled Ivy close, letting her lean against him. Freya stared in shock, shouting, "Marcus!" Ivy quickly pushed him away, mocking Freya. "I won't admit to something I didn't do. Miss White, you know the truth." Tony silently moved to the projector, playing a video of Freya, in high heels, threatening Ivy. Marcus's eyes darkened as he watched. Ivy looked at Freya disdainfully. "I didn't want to expose you, but since you can walk, why stay in a wheelchair? It's so inconvenient." The room erupted. Had Freya been faking her disability for 4 years? Ivy seemed pleased. "Freya, explain to your fiancé." With that, she left without looking back. Marcus turned, giving Freya a cold glance before following Ivy. Freya grabbed Marcus's arm, desperately pleading. "Marcus, that's not me in the video. Please believe me." Marcus's brow furrowed, his eyes showing a hint of disgust. He shook her off and turned to leave. Freya, seeing her hand fall empty, smirked coldly and rushed off the stage. Bang! The wheelchair and Freya fell, and someone shouted, "Mr. Harris!" Freya fell. The man at the door looked back at the fallen woman. No longer feeling the urgency he once did, he calmly walked over, picked her up, and took her to the hospital. After the incident, Ivy resigned and went home. She cut off all communication, hiding with Noah in their apartment. Thinking of Marcus's actions, her eyes stung with unshed tears, a hint of loneliness in her gaze. Noah noticed Ivy's mood and asked, "Mommy, are you okay? Do you feel sick?" "I'm fine." Ivy thought she had moved on, but her heart still ached. Her phone buzzed with a message from Tony. "The video files are ready. Have you decided when to release them?" Ivy's fingers flew over the keyboard. December 25th at the wedding. Chapter 14, It was her. On the day of the wedding. Knock, knock. There was a knock at the door. Marcus walked over and opened it. A man wearing a baseball cap spoke in a deliberately low voice. "Mr. Harris, this is from Our Lady. She said you must watch it. The information inside is crucial to today's wedding." Before Marcus could respond, the man disappeared around the corner. Marcus looked down at the video in his hand, stunned. At the wedding venue, a girl quietly approached the projector and inserted a prepared video into the computer. Marcus, still in a daze, decided to watch the video. He found a computer and inserted the video. The first scene showed Freya and a doctor discussing her condition. As the video progressed, Marcus's face darkened. Suddenly, the screen went black, then an old video started playing. It showed him lying in a pool of blood, with a girl crying out, "Marcus, Marcus, wake up, don't die on me." Marcus's eyes burned as he watched the girl in the video. How long had it been since he last saw her? An old man appeared in the video, reaching out to pull her away. The girl pleaded, Uncle Butler, please save him. Ivy begs you. Hearing the girl's name, Marcus's breath caught. He stared at the screen, realizing she had called herself Ivy. Could it be that the person who saved him back then was Ivy? But when he woke up in the hospital, it was Freya by his side, claiming she had saved him. He had never investigated further. Was Freya pretending all along? As Marcus pondered, a text message arrived. If you regret it, there's still time. They have a flight at PM tonight. Don't miss your chance. Marcus pieced everything together, his mind heavy. Meanwhile, chaos erupted at the wedding venue. Instead of sweet, romantic photos, the screen displayed evidence of the Freya family's money laundering and bribery. It even showed a video from 4 years ago, revealing Freya's plot against Ivy from another angle. Freya clutched her dress, searching for Marcus but finding no sign of him. She felt a moment of relief. With a stern face, she asked, "What's going on?" "Sorry, miss, the computer seems to be infected with a virus. We can't shut it down." A nervous man in black explained. Outside the wedding venue, police sirens wailed. 3 officers approached Freya, asking, "Are you Miss White?" "Hello, we received a report. Please come with us for questioning." One officer said, showing his badge. Marcus opened the door, his face cold, his eyes fixed on Freya. "Was that car accident really caused by Ivy pushing you?" He narrowed his eyes, his voice icy. "Did you really save me back then?" Marcus pushed Freya aside, gripping her chin. "Freya, did you enjoy playing me?" Bombarded with questions, Freya could only shake her head, saying, "I didn't." The police approached, showing their badges to Marcus. "Mr. Harris, we need to take her in for questioning. Please cooperate." Marcus's voice was cold. "I have no intention of interfering. Freya has nothing to do with me." With that, the police took Freya away. Freya cried out, "Marcus, save me. I don't want to go to jail, save me." Marcus ignored her, rushing out to drive to the airport to find Ivy. Chapter 15, I Love You. At the airport, Marcus looked around but couldn't find Ivy. Then he heard a familiar childish voice. He hurried towards it and saw Ivy holding Noah's hand in the distance. Marcus ran over and hugged Ivy tightly. "I'm sorry, Ivy. I was wrong all these years." Ivy, unaware of what had happened, pushed him away, her voice cold. "Marcus, we're divorced. Watch your behavior." Marcus, undeterred, held her shoulders, his voice breaking. "I know everything now. About our childhood, about Freya. I was wrong to blame you. I was so foolish." Seeing him like this, Ivy felt an unexpected pang of sympathy. She gently wiped his tears, speaking softly. "It's all in the past. I just want to live a good life now." Marcus, hearing this, hugged her tightly again. "It's my fault. I made you suffer abroad for so many years, raising Noah alone. It's all my fault." He paused, then made a significant decision. He let go of her, knelt on one knee, and said, "Ivy, will you marry me again? Let me make it up to you and Noah. I promise to treat you well. Let's live as a family, okay?" Ivy's eyes reddened. Seeing this once proud man so humble before her, she couldn't deny she was moved. Noah chimed in. "Mommy, I want Marcus to be my daddy." He tugged at Ivy's pants, swaying like a little puppy. Ivy couldn't help but laugh. She knelt down, pinching his chubby cheeks. "Should we give Marcus a chance?" Marcus's eyes lit up. "Really, Ivy?" Ivy stood up, her face stern. "I'm giving you a chance, but that doesn't mean I've decided." Marcus didn't care. He picked Ivy up and spun her around, shouting, "Ivy! You're amazing!" Noah giggled. "Marcus, you're so shameless." Ivy's face turned red. She patted Marcus, telling him to put her down. Marcus gently set her down, his voice trembling. So, are you still leaving? No, Noah likes it here. We'll stay, Ivy said, smiling as she patted Noah's head. But we're divorced. Noah still has to listen to me, she said firmly, crossing her arms. Marcus grinned mischievously. I never filed the divorce papers. We never got a divorce certificate, so we're still married. Ivy's eyes widened. You didn't divorce me and got engaged to Freya? Marcus, have you no shame? Marcus quickly explained. I've always loved you. The engagement was her idea. I thought if you didn't love me, I wouldn't force you. It was to compensate for her accident. I always thought she saved me, but it was all her scheme. Ivy turned away, pulling Noah and her suitcase, hiding a smile. 6 months later, the Freya family was investigated and everyone faced legal consequences. Ivy's designs gained international acclaim, and Marcus spent every day chasing after her. After months of effort, he finally slipped his ring onto Ivy's finger, and they held a grand wedding. Perhaps when you love someone, you only see their good qualities and tolerate everything about them. But love is like tending a flower. With care, it will bloom. When love arrives, it makes us forget the past and hold on to future happiness.